Foster parents. What made you realize the system was actively working against the children? 3 months ago, I thought I was saving kids, but it turns out I was feeding them to monsters. I went downstairs Tuesday morning to grab Tommy's uniform when I saw tiny legs sticking out from behind the water heater. Lily was curled up in a ball, completely motionless. Her arms had circular marks like injection sites, and she was gripping this torn photo of her mom so tight her knuckles were white. Someone had drawn obscene things all over her mother's face with black marker. I scooped her up, and she felt like a rag doll. When I whispered her name, she just stared straight ahead, like she'd completely left her body. Ms. Rodriguez showed up the next morning with papers already filled out. This was the same woman who used to bring Lily cookies and play dolls with her for hours. "We need to transfer Lily to Renewal Springs for behavioral intervention," she said without looking at me. Her voice sounded flat and robotic. Rodriguez finally looked up from her clipboard with completely cold eyes. "Children who exhibit resistance behaviors require compliance protocols. The facility specializes in elimination of oppositional responses." After she left, Tommy grabbed my arm with both hands. His whole body was shaking. "Mrs. Sarah, you can't let them take her there." His voice cracked. "The kids who go to those places come back like their souls got sucked out, and some don't come back at all." I drove out to Renewal Springs that afternoon. Through the windows, I could see children sitting alone in padded cells, just staring at blank walls, not moving, not playing, just sitting. I called other foster parents. Linda's voice broke when she told me about her daughter. Maya went in speaking 3 languages and playing violin. 6 months later, she couldn't even remember how to use a fork. Then I found Janet Martinez, a former social worker trying to expose what she called the pipeline. At a coffee shop, she spread out documents with trembling hands. "Pharmaceutical companies paying these facilities $3,000 per child for drug trials," she whispered, glancing around. "Most aren't even approved for adults. They're destroying these children systematically and getting paid for it." Janet was supposed to call me the next day. Instead, her sister called crying. They found her hanging in the garage. Police said it was autoerotic, but Janet wore a purity ring and went to mass every day. That night, I found a dead rat on my doorstep with a note. "Stop digging or join your friend." Tommy started having nightmares about men in black cars. His teacher told me someone had been calling asking about his medical history, but wouldn't give a case number. They took Tommy right out of his classroom Monday morning. 3 officers and a caseworker. I found him 2 days later at Renewal Springs, strapped to a bed with IVs in both arms. His eyes were open, but he looked right through me like I was invisible. "Tommy, it's Mrs. Sarah." He tried to speak, but only made garbled sounds. A nurse told me they'd performed emergency brain surgery to correct his oppositional defiant disorder. The boy I knew was gone. I organized a meeting at the community center. 50 parents showed up demanding answers. That's when they tried to drug me right there in front of everyone. "Mrs. Phillips is experiencing acute psychological distress," the supervisor announced, as 2 men in scrubs approached me with a syringe. Parents started screaming. Then 3 young people walked in who I barely recognized as human. One girl kept scratching at scars covering her arms. A boy was banging his head against the wall, making inhuman sounds. But one young woman managed to speak. Her voice was barely audible, but the entire room went silent. "They used us as test subjects for drugs that made us seize and foam at the mouth." Judge Harrison signed every consent form while his wife collected dividends from the pharmaceutical companies. They called it research, but they were really just breaking us apart piece by piece. The room exploded. Parents were lunging at officials, screaming for their children. They raided Renewal Springs 3 days later and found dozens of children in restraints with permanent brain damage. Tommy died from complications. Lily was found in a mass grave with 17 other children. Most officials fled the country. The case got sealed for national security reasons.